Good morning. I think by now the majority of you all would have seen that correspondence as a media release from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to the public and also to the criminals to inform all that they do not have the capability to secure the country at this time, and they were making a recommendation to the government to call a state of emergency. I think this is a first in history. So let me clarify as it pertains to classification of documents. There's confidential, there's restricted, there's secret, and there's top secret. This document falls in that category. And it means that by doing that, the public is not supposed to be aware, because if the public is aware, it means the criminals are also aware. It can also put undue panic in the public before a decision is made. This is stupidity at the highest level. Why would you, as the police service, the hierarchy, state to the public, we do not have the capability to secure you, so we want the government to call a state of emergency, without the government yet making that decision? Now, if the government wants to make that decision, that is the government's choice. But you cannot make a recommendation, and suppose the government says no now. How would you look? I mean, it is unbelievable that this release was sent out, because it shows the inability of the police service to understand how to operate as it pertains to sensitive documents. You let the public and the criminals be aware we don't have the capability to secure you, so we want the government to be able to help us by calling a state of emergency. What should have happened is if the government themselves say, look, son, we think that this is enough, we want to call a state of emergency. Commissioner, what do you think? And the commissioner will send correspondence to agree. That must all be done in a degree of confidentiality of documentation until the decision is made to call a state of emergency or not. And my personal view about this, again, as I continue to state, a state of emergency should not be used as a crime-fighting tool. This letter is a template of exactly what was submitted to the government in 2011 to justify calling a state of emergency. Everything that can be done without a state of emergency can be done now, which has not been done. Lifted the national security alert state, utilizing the 5,000 members of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force who are in camp on standby since 1990. Improving tactical awareness, improving major operations, putting high visibility, a deterrent, taking the fight to the criminals as we did in 2018 to 2021. You do not need to have to call the state of emergency. The only difference with the state of emergency is that now you can hold persons indefinitely and also be able to break into homes without a warrant. That is the only thing. But again, that is the call of the government. Also, as it pertains to the Ministry of Justice, one of the recommendations and the concerns is based on what is taking place in the prison. I drafted that Ministry of Justice years ago, gave it to the Prime Minister, and thankfully she has now approved a Ministry of Justice. But going on 3 months, the Minister of Justice has not said a word. The Ministry of Justice has said nothing. And I drafted this ministry specifically to deal with this situation, because this situation of criminal elements having full control of their gangs and criminal activity whilst in the prison, it required a ministry by itself to be able to lock down the prisons, not just to improve rehabilitation, reduce recidivism, deal with the problems in the remand, but also to make sure that when persons are incarcerated, they have no ability to communicate with persons outside. But nothing has been done. So because of the failure of those in the Ministry of Justice, it has caused the police now to be able to be forced to call for a state of emergency. And finally, you put a letter to the public, letting them know that you intend to have covert and overt operations. How foolish is that? A covert operation means something that is clandestine, undercover, and you let the criminal elements be aware of what your intention is. So this whole thing, it is very messy. It was unacceptable. It should not have been done, and it shows some lack of knowledge and understanding the degree of confidentiality of correspondence. This should never have been sent to the public until the government had made the official decision to call a state of emergency or not.